Well, there's two steps I would take to attract businesses. One is lowering the regulations that are unnecessary. An example is a lawyer that wants to build an office in downtown Vancouver. And one of the things that's in the way of him doing this is because of the limited space he has for building the building on his property. They're also asking him to build 12-foot sidewalks when the adjacent sidewalks are like 4 feet or something like that. And that would make it not possible for his current plan for his building and then an actual parking area for vehicles to go forward. And so that's one of the areas where I would incentivize to do everything. I think we should do everything we can to bring more business here by getting rid of regulations that don't really benefit the needs of the people. Another thing is the impact fees. We need to really drastically lower impact fees. With our current economic climate, it's my opinion that the city needs to focus on getting jobs here and employment here. That should be the main focus. We need to focus less on capital projects and raising the revenue for those capital projects. I do not agree with raising taxes in this climate. It's hard on families already as things are. They're having a hard time paying. We have one of the highest foreclosure rates in the state. So if you raise property taxes, that's going to equal higher foreclosures. People are going to have a harder time paying that mortgage. I disagree with more taxes on businesses. Businesses are already looking to move out of Vancouver because of the unfriendly business environment. We need to do everything we can to help families out and to help businesses out. We must have lower taxes. As far as funding unnecessary things like baseball stadiums with the taxpayer base, I, on principle, disagree with that. I believe that taking $500,000, which would be the approximate amount that would be taken with the admissions tax and used to pay the financing cost of the baseball stadium, that $500,000 needs to stay in the private sector for free enterprise growth. And I don't agree with taking more money for government-sponsored enterprise. I am against it and having that built. And it's my opinion that CTRAN, as a public service entity for public transit, needs to serve the needs of our people in a way that does not put such a great burden and a cost burden that it's prohibitive to the population that it serves. And that's what it's turning into. CTRAN, a lot of the times the buses are going around empty, I've noticed. And instead of focusing on more capital going into CTRAN for more projects, they need to focus on their core service of keeping the buses running. They're coming back to the taxpayers this election cycle for a sales tax increase. If you need sales tax increases in order to maintain service with the buses, then it seems absurd to me that you're going to build light rail that is going to be funded by CTRAN that doesn't have the money to pay for the current bus services. It also seems absurd that you're going to build you're going to redo whole areas of the city, including Fourth Plain, and giving buses control of the traffic lights when the majority of people don't even use the bus, but they're using their own personal vehicle. It's going to create more congestion. It's not going to help the transit needs and the transportation needs of our community and our citizens. It's going to put a damper on things. And it's going to be very, very costly to our citizens. So we have to balance carefully the needs for public transit, which I believe in, versus just how much you need public transit and what kind of public transit and what will work best for our citizens. And since CTRAN does not have the money to currently maintain service levels, I don't think they have the money, and they shouldn't be doing any studies. I disagree with the studies for larger, more expensive projects in the near future. I think the C-Tran, as I mentioned just earlier in a previous question, I think C-Tran can be better managed. That's the problem. That's why they have shortfalls now. They have a ton of money coming into that organization, a lot of revenue. It's being mismanaged and the money's being wasted. Well, that's one of my campaign planks is, at this point in time, we do not support building light rail in Clark County, and I also do not support the CRC bridge project, the current proposal is going to the federal government. The main reason being the citizens have yet to vote on this project. They have not allowed the citizens a vote. And there's a lot of questions, a lot of input was ignored over a period of years on how this bridge project will proceed from the very beginning up to the current point in time. There's a lot of questions, one of them being the tolls that they want to put on this bridge because of the light rail being attached to it and just the scope and the size of the bridge. The tolls are projected to be above $5, and how are citizens going to pay that work in Portland? And they're already having a hard time, a lot of people are having a hard time with their family financial situation, the family budgets. How are they going to be able to afford extra $2,000 or $3,000 a year in the fees for crossing the bridge to go to work? They're going to be paying that much extra. They have to make that space in their budget, and it's going to be hard. I think people are going to move out of here, and I don't think it's the best for our citizens. Another question is the light rail. How are our citizens going to pay for the light rail? The estimated maintenance costs, according to Nancy Boyd, the CRC director, project director, is $3 to $5 million a year for maintenance costs. Those maintenance costs are going to be carried by C-Tran. So that's another question that hasn't been answered real well. And those are two really legitimate concerns. And I think that this project shouldn't move forward until we have these concerns being addressed properly. Well, I'm going to start with the bridge first. I support the bridge being built on 182nd, also a bridge being built west of I-5 for exactly that reason, because it brings growth. And that's exactly what we need. That creates jobs, and it's a free enterprise way of creating jobs. It's going to attract people to live here, and it's going to attract economic growth. And those are two things that our city and our country need to focus on right now. So I think building more bridges rather than replacing the current bridges is what we should be focused on. And I also agree with the idea of growth. I don't like the idea of managed growth. I've heard the term smart growth or sustainable development, and I disagree with both of those. Smart growth and sustainable development, they're neither smart and nor do they promote growth. And I think it's important that we look at bringing back and revitalizing our economy with that kind of growth. I disagree with going into debt to build new projects. There's been a lot of recent projects in recent memory that were debt funded that I think were poor decisions on our leadership's behalf. I would support a better way to go about fixing this revenue issue, because that's how it's referred to as a revenue issue, is growing the tax base. So we need to remove all of the fees and the taxes that are hurting the tax base and hurting the economy to promote more businesses to move in here and to get the economy going again. That's going to bring the tax base up. It's going to bring the operations and management budget up. and then we'll be able to proceed with more capital expenditures on new projects. But until that time, we don't need to focus on building new things. We need to focus on getting jobs back into our city. Well, I'm running for Vancouver City Council because I'm concerned about my opponent's decisions and how they're affecting our city. And a lot of choices that have been made over the last 8 years since he's been in office have put a lot more debt on our city. The total population of the city of Vancouver has increased 10%, and yet they've increased the budget over 250%. And yet our city's in a complete hole. So the amount of money they're spending a year that's going out has increased per citizen. Along with that is the public input is not being sincerely honored in a lot of different areas, including the light rail and the bridge project on I-5. And I think that we need to have more sincere, open, and listening leadership that looks at all sides of the issues before proceeding with projects.